Being mixed race, I can recall countless times I've experienced or suffered from racism in my life. I think the first time I truly felt it was throughout high school. I went to an all-boys school in a tough area of the city. It was a decent school, but you could literally count on one hand the amount of us who were either of black, mixed or any other ethnicity, and I was always made to feel different throughout my time there. One incident that stands out to me was during the first week of school. I was walking through a corridor with a friend, and a boy a few years older than us pinned me against the wall, knocked my bag off my shoulder. He looked me dead in the eyes and he said, "You watch your back around here, you dirty black mongrel." The hatred and venom in which he said it stays with me to this day. I was called racist names on a number of occasions and always questioned, "Where are you from? No, where are you really from? Have you got black in you? Where's your dad from?" And then these kind of things would be followed by some words to make me feel like a kind of worthless dog. Even though I used to brush it off as though it didn't bother me, I suffered alone a lot, questioning who I am and why it was supposed to be bad that I was different. I've always felt more towards my black heritage and I've always been very light-skinned, but I had a head of tight afro curls and began to question the way I looked, thinking, hang on, I look too white, I don't look dark enough, what am I? I remember I used to think that if I shaved off all my hair, then that's one thing that people can't insult me about and say things, so I nagged my mum to take me to the barbers and got it all shaved off. It didn't stop. It never has. And what saddens me is that there are a lot of people who've gone through a lot worse than I have, and if my skin was a darker shade, then I think I would have gotten a lot more abuse. Leaving school and moving into the adult world from university into the working arena, racism seemed to be a lot different and the type I experienced changed. It became more of a light, subtle and covert kind of racism. White people wouldn't realise that I actually wasn't white, and sometimes in a group of people someone would come up with an abhorrent racist comment, and when I would respond and stand up to them they'd say things like, "Oh sorry, I wouldn't have said it if I knew you were black," or they'd look at me and study my face and go, Are you mixed really? You don't look it. Oh yeah, I suppose you've got the lips or you've got the hair." Then they just brush off what they said as though it never happened. I would disassociate myself from that person, but the saddest thing is that this thing happens all the time, regular to this day. After a rehearsal for a play that I was in last year, I went for a quick drink with the main person in charge who I thought was a friend. During a normal conversation after a beer, he let his mask slip. He came out with the most disgusting racist word while we were talking about someone we knew. I was that stunned I couldn't speak for about 10 seconds. He then smirked and he said, "Oh, you're not one of them who were bothered by that word." He wasn't aware that I was mixed race, and the true him came out. He was testing to see if I would have laughed, so he probably could have went further. I got up and left. People like him are everywhere and they hide behind a mask, but at some point it's always going to slip. I know racism is there in a lot of people, but they just hide it, and that's the sad thing. Why is it there at all? I'm aware that my experiences of racism are a lot lighter than what others have gone through and continue to. The kind of racism that people will say I should just get on with, but I don't want to. I stand side by side with my black family and friends in solidarity. We can't fix this overnight, it's a long process, but we need to keep on standing against this to get there. We should not have to put up with this anymore.